We're near Aylsham and we've come to visit the workshop of Mat Newson. I think it's going to be a fascinating journey around Mat's yard. We're going to see all the stock cars that he's got here, which I think is going to be brilliant. And also we're going to chat to Mat about the season ahead. So let's go and see if we can find Mat. How are we doing?
Oh, hello, Jonathan. What are we doing here in Norfolk?
A long way from home.
Nice to see you. Yeah, now you know what I have to deal with every week.
I know, it's a long way. So you've not done the weather for us though?
No, you haven't really picked a good day to come here, to be honest.
No.
I haven't got the luxury like most people of being inside all day.
I find it it's atmospheric. We've got like a smoke machine.
I know, yeah.
Across
Yeah, they look like they've got a good fire going on down there, don't they?
So we've come to your yard, and I think most stock car fans are fascinated because they hear the stories and they know about Mat Newson's yard. And
no, they don't. They don't. No, they don't. Whatever they vision is worse than that.
Well, we've got here and we'll go, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
We pulled up, this is brilliant. So I thought it would be great just to kind of walk us around and just show us kind of everything, like a guided tour.
Show you a lot of junk. Is that what you're thinking?
No, I don't think
This
so.
is actually 30 years of accumulated junk. That's what my dad tells me. This didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
This has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He has a little clear up every now and then you don't even see where he's been.
No. But it looks great. It feels very much like a stock car, a stock museum.
To be honest with you, that is all we do here really. Is obviously we do a bit of other stuff, but nearly everything that goes on here is just stock car work really.
Yeah. So what time are you here this morning? Because it's what, 9:30ish now?
Yeah, 9 o'clock time.
Yeah.
I normally drop my daughter at school and then obviously go from her school's 10 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
Then come here from there.
And what time you finish?
Whenever really. I would try to be finished at 6, but when season gets going it can be 10, 11, 12. It can, when it's done, it's done. It's sort of one of them things really.
Okay, right. So start from the beginning. So I recognise the 4 stock cars on there. So that's, can you
There's
take those
3 on there.
3 on, is the 3? There is 3, I can't even tell.
You see.
Yeah. I was distracted.
Early morning, isn't it?
It is.
Basically, yeah, the two bottom ones are just my hire cars, really. That's all they are. The one up the top, it belongs to Mickey Randall.
Yeah.
That's here just having a sort out ready for the start of the season. A couple of new rule changes that have been sort of brought in, so I'm just doing them. Mickey is actually going to try and sell the car.
Yeah.
So I sort of said to him that I would probably help him sell it, seeing as it was one of mine. It's not very old. You know, people ring me a lot more than they ring Mickey for a car. So I say that's sort of what that's here for, to be done. Yeah,
he mentioned at World Final weekend he was wanting to concentrate back on tarmac, and so like looking at...
Basically, after a bit of a conversation with Mickey, I think it's one of them. A lot of people get in that situation. He loves shale racing, but when you do shale and tarmac, the time it takes to keep on top of 2 cars is so difficult, and then you end up racing nearly every week then. And I think it's at the stage when you do tarmac you get like a big break, and I think he'd just much rather do race tarmac, have a few weeks off, race again. Whereas when you start looking at it, well, it's Lynn this week, it's Northampton next week, then we've got a tarmac, then it's Kings Lynn again, and it just, I think it took over too much really. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the reason.
So we've got those 3 there, and then up the top there.
Yeah, that's the graveyard.
Okay, that's a graveyard.
That's the graveyard.
Get the graveyard.
The yellow and red one, that's been my shale car ever since 2013.
Yeah.
So I let James Morris do a season in it when I used Mark Sargent's. Then I had it back. To be honest with you, it's just got to the stage where I started repairing it, and all the steel's so thin. It doesn't. Any repair you do just doesn't last. To be honest with you, it's just past it. Then the next one, which has still got Colin Goodswin's number on, that was the sort of unique tube car that I built a lot of years ago. I think 2010. Colin raced it. Then Colin sold it to a Dutch driver. Then the Dutch driver nicked everything off it and built another car.
Okay.
I actually bought it back more just because it was mine originally. Me and my dad do always talk about, we'll put it on track again, because you can't have a tube car anymore.
No.
So we're a bit like, because we've got one, it's still legal to race. But then I look at it and think it'd take me a week to do that, and in that time I'd have a new one built. So I don't actually really generally see it.
So you know the tube aspect. Because I remember that coming out. I think David at Coventry.
I did.
A long time ago, and it was kind of like you say unique because it's built out of tube. And is that because you thought it was stronger?
So obviously a lot of things have changed in a lot of years. But when I first started, I couldn't afford a small block. I couldn't afford really a decent car. So only had a big block, and I wanted to get it on minimum weight. And obviously, unless you start going really thin steel, which doesn't work, I thought if I went tube is always lighter.
Okay.
And to be fair, tube is stronger than box in its own sort of form, hence why roll cages are out of tube. So the theory was there, but it was so difficult to make. Everything I welded to it had to be snotched and done. And to be honest with you, it was just, it was an absolute nightmare. But at the time, it did its job, and it was the best shale car I'd ever had at that point. But then what happens is a small block comes along, a small block Chevy comes along, they're 100 kilos lighter, so therefore you don't even need to go to all that trouble.
No.
So I just didn't. And then obviously they didn't actually ban tube cars. They stopped people building what they call space frame cars. But the only way they could do that was to basically bring a rule in which said all chassis rails had to be 70x70 before minimum thickness, which then meant even though that tube is 70mm round, it doesn't fall into the category. So it isn't really banned for no reason apart from it was the only way they could stop space frames being built.
Okay, good. I like that.
And then next to, well, I call that the pink pig, but I will race that again. I will definitely race that again. It's up there because I've just robbed everything off it. But I do have this intention of bringing it out. I spoke at the shootout finale, and we were talking about obviously getting second in the shootout and stuff. And the biggest trouble I have is the fact that time I get to shootout stage, my kit is too worn and it's had a hard life. And I am convinced that what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that back out, race it at what I call domestic meetings, and then try and keep my car for important days. Really and truthfully, then I would do half the meetings in each car, which would keep the wear down. So that is going to happen, but it's not going to happen no time soon. So, but that, let's say that is up there, but I that will be out again. It don't stand me at nothing. It is what it is. Not being funny, but places like Bradford and that, it would go well round there. It's rough and ready, just like it is round there. I don't really have a care in the world about it, which gives you that attitude of driving. So to be honest with you, that will suit them sort of places. So.
Right, okay, before we move on, so up the top there, so that's been on the internet, you've tried to sell that. Where did that come from?
Right, that was bought by a driver called Darren Sheen, who's been doing a lot of racing last year. We call him Sheeny, but he bought that and wanted me to make it basically a Formula 1. He bought that off somebody. That's a brand new Frankie Wayman Jr. car, but it's never actually been raced. It was built, done. When I put it up there, it actually was on top of that roof, but actually it's had a little fall through the roof. Anyway, I've actually done a deal with Sheeny now that Sheeny's going to have a different car off me. I've taken that in.
Is that because you can't be asked to get it off?
No, Sheeny worked out really how much it was going to cost him time he bought engine, gearbox, axles, because obviously there's nothing in it at all, a seat. And actually, to be fair, it was just far cheaper to buy one ready to go. So that really and truthfully, I just took it off him, and I shall sell it. If I don't sell it, I'll do what I do to everything. I'll make it a hire car, and to be fair, it is brand new at the end of the day. So that's where that hasn't actually ever been on the floor. My dad picked it up in the crane lorry, and it went straight from the crane lorry up there, and that's as far as it's ever made it.
Fascinating. It's like we said it's a bit like museum-esque, but I feel like I'm standing looking around.
There is a lot of stuff about here. Obviously I see it all the time, but I know where all the stuff is. And we've got a transit axle pile up here. I just keep buying them and stacking them up there, and one day I need one, so I get one down. And
safe ladder to get up there.
Safe ladder, it's a long way down if not. So.
And before we move on, obviously Mark Clayton's brand new jail car was at the NEC. We chatted to Mark about it. He's clearly well happy with you and what's been built, and it does look fantastic.
So Mark obviously has been on board with me as a team all last year. He'd bought a car off Paul Hines, done his first season, loves his racing. Just said to me that obviously it makes a lot more sense that because I look after it, I'd much rather look after one of my own than it gets to the stage where I'm taking so many spares for 6 different cars. It'd just be easier. So obviously, yes, Mark sold his old car. I built Mark this. I wasn't going to take it to the NEC because I didn't have Mark's real engine in it. So I put like a dummy engine together just to take it to the NEC. And now I actually got it out of the workshop today, and I'm now going to obviously put Mark's real engine in it, obviously then get it ready for Kings Lynn to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we start walking, you know, you mentioned about you've got transit axles up there.
Yeah.
And then in that building there.
Yeah.
What's in there?
Right, well, where you can see at the minute, you can see the paint shop, but actually that is just the junk cupboard. I remember Danny Wayman coming here and rummaging around in there for, well, ages, to be honest with you. He went in there and was like, oh my God, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. There was a time I actually could get in the doorway.
Right, okay. Sophie can't get in the door. She's doing very well.
Yeah.
So that's your paint shop. That's your axle shop up there.
Yeah.
So good. I feel like
there is.
Yeah, it's organised.
Yeah,
it's organised. I like it so far.
Good. You say organised. I don't know about that, but I do know everything is. So that's fine. But
Matt, shall we have a bit of a wander down here then?
Yeah.
Right. You tell me where we're going next.
With this box here, we've done a lorry conversion for a customer, so that's just been stood there for a while.
Yeah.
Getting done. This is a customer's roller that's here for a hydraulic leak, but we've got. You can probably see over there, that's the tyre scrap pile.
Oh, is it scrap?
Yeah, they're all the ones that I just take them off cars, I chuck them in a pile there, and then a company we know, they just come and collect them all in one go.
There's a lot of money there.
Well, not now there's not. Not now there's not, but yeah, there's a lot of money originally there, isn't there? But they do eat tyres, to be fair. You know, they last well for what they are and how much abuse they get, but when you think about, I do 7 cars a week and each one probably does 2 or 3 a week.
Yes.
50 meetings a year. It's a fair few.
So you know, you said about obviously it's very stock car orientated so far.
Yeah.
You've got a roller here for a customer. So do you deal with the bits?
Yeah.
And bobs for...
Obviously, before I did stock car, I used to do a bit of road car repairs. Really, that's what my dad always done. But over a period of time, I looked after people I had, but never took no one new on.
Yeah.
But over a period, I've let it go. Really, I don't want to know about it anymore. I get a car coming now, and I'm just like, oh, I can't be arsed. You know, I don't want to know. I really am just stock car.
Yeah.
Sort of all I do now. But people like, let's say with the roller, he's got like a fleet of vans that I look after. So when that comes in, I just do it because it keeps the other stuff coming and doing.
Absolutely. Because I mean, I suppose you can't be 100% stock cars just in case. You need to kind of.
People always say to me, "Oh, I go for MOT a lot in cars," and the guy there who owns a garage, he goes, "I don't know why you bother with this. I don't know why you didn't just do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I like to keep something there. If it all did go wrong, at least I've got something to fall back to." But I do feel like now it is just stock cars.
Yeah, just stock cars. Yeah, it feels very stock.
It does, yeah.
The fact he's like burning shit.
Oh,
It's such a...
in Norfolk, that doesn't matter. Health and safety don't apply.
Right, so let's have a wander down this bit then, down here, because there's more. More stock cars. Is this your summer bench?
Yeah, that's where I eat my dinner on that.
Yeah.
Not in this weather though, to be fair. I've got a trailer here that I've been building for I don't know 5-6 years. The idea is I'm going to get that done. I can get 4 cars in it, but I just don't get enough time.
So in there you've got John Thompson.
John Thompson's in front of that, you can't see it, but in front of John Thompson's is Jason Coles.
Yes.
And at the bottom is one of my hire cars at the bottom. You see, a lot of the time now I don't like leaving cars out. Yeah. So we're forever like moving them around from place to place. You know, there was 4 in there, and then I get another one in that body, and I try and keep them inside, and then they come out. I'll put another one away, and my dad always spends half his life moving from one place to another, and then, you know, but it's the only way I can really do it. I don't have the luxury of 10 cars inside, so.
We are in the middle of nowhere. I'm guessing you're starting them up and moving them, or is it?
It's not an issue.
Not an issue.
Yeah. To be fair, we moved most of them in here with the forklift, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't get no complaints for driving and doing so.
Perfect. Nigel Cox.
Yeah, Nigel Cox. That's had the other week I did just the bumpers and nerfs round ready. The signwriter's coming back just to tidy some of the stickers up, and then really and truthfully he'll be ready to go whenever he decides to come over for the first meeting, which I imagine will be a Lynn or a Bradford at the start of the year. And then I say I've got one of my very old hire cars up to the top.
So do you ever get to a point with your hire cars where you're kind of going, right, that is like had its life?
Yeah.
Do stock cars have a, you know, is there a point
they do and they don't. You get a bit like when we spoke about the yellow and blue, or the yellow and red one up there, where they become so awkward to repair because the seals. But to be honest with you, we talk about that car, I'm only guessing of it now, but let's say that was built in 2015. But what bit was built in 2015? It's probably had 12 sets of bumpers and side irons. It's had 10 different axles, apart from maybe the roll cage, but even that's probably been repaired. It gets to the stage where I don't actually know which bit is still original. I think whilst you keep repairing them, you know, with new stuff. They knew. I get to the stage now though where I can build a new one quicker than I can repair an old one. So I don't see the logic in repairing an old one. When you go to sell, someone says to me how old it is, and you'll say, well, it's 10-year-old. You know, that still sticks. Whereas you build a new one in the same time, it's still new, isn't it? That's sort of how it.
I suppose it's like a road car, though, isn't it? In the sense of like, well, it's 10 years old, but it's only done X number of miles compared to another. You know, it's where.
Yeah, like I say, when you look into it, I know people that have had cars that are 10-year-old but race 10 times a year. Yeah. My shale car now's 2-year-old, but it does every meeting. It's actually older than probably these in, like you said, racing terms. Yeah. But the biggest thing that shale does is it degrades the steel so badly. Like the chassis 5mm, I don't care what you say. You get one that's 10-year-old, they're not 5mm anymore. they've rotted away. You know, that's the biggest thing. Yeah. I mean, tarmac cars are a different story. I look after some tarmac cars and they're still mint. Yeah. But you get shale cars that have had a hard life and they, you know.
Is that just because it's the shale surface, or just the fact it's a different type of racing as well?
It's a bit like, you know, it is just a shale. It's like grit. It's abrasive. You have to wash a shale car every time. As a tarmac car, you might rinse it off and it's good to go. But really and truthfully, like I say, for the steel side of it, shale is an absolute killer. It's like shot blasting it, really.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
Where do you, right, because you've used 7 cars to a shale meter, bringing them back, where are you washing them?
Right there.
There?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'll wash them there. There's a bit of a gully down here which soaks away, but then I've got a mini digger and I just keep clearing it over and over.
Where do you put it?
Just to be fair, it just goes back in the side there, and it just keeps building up a pile and a pile, and it gets bigger and bigger, and to be honest with you, there's a lot. Down that end of the yard, which I don't go down very often, it's all kind of washed down there. You end up going down there and it is
shale track.
This bit right here, this is 2 weeks after, you know, in 2 weeks time at Lynn, this bit here will be getting done. So
down there though, so we've got lorries, we've got more stock cars down here.
Yeah, basically anything that doesn't move as such or doesn't want to get moved, I just keep putting it down and down there.
So the one on the back of the lorry there, James.
That was James Hunt's. Yeah. Okay. So James Hunt had that. It was actually, going back a bit before that, that is what I class as my original Billy Tom car.
Right.
I raced that in, I don't know, 2010, 11, something like that. Yeah. I then sold it to Finn Sargent. Yes. So that was Finn Sargent's first ever car. Then Finn Sargent sold it to Dave Duran. Yes. Dave Duran, I believe, then sold it to James Hunt. Yeah. James Hunt raced it a few times. Actually then just said stock car racing wasn't for him as such. Okay. Asked me if I wanted to buy it. I bought it, sold the engine out of it to Casey Inglestone, and to be fair, the car hasn't moved since. No.
You've got a lot of knowledge, like genuinely, it's fascinating. Sophie's now walking down she's going down to the bit where all the shale is.
Yeah, she'll get stuck in the ground soon.
The one in front of it, the purple one, I don't really recognise that.
No, that came here in May last year. That belongs to a Dutch driver, H104. Yeah. That was a Wayman car that basically he was too big for, he couldn't get in it. Right. He wanted me to move the pedals, raise the roof, change a few things. Basically, originally, when the deal started, it was meant to be done in a few weeks and he was going to race it again. Yeah. But this is the same time then that Nigel de Kock debuted his new car. Yes. And he watched Nigel race his new car, looked at Nigel's car and just said, I don't bother doing that, just build me a new one. Oh, right. So later on, when we move into the workshop, I'll show you the new one that's been built. But again, like I do with all the people I deal with, I just knocked an amount off the new car and I've now taken that in as my... People don't want to know about selling, like, look at it now, you know, people don't want to know about selling that. I'm just as happy to take that, put an engine in it, put it on wheels, get it ready to race. I'll either hire it at meetings or someone will ring me and say, have you got a car ready to race? And so that's what that car is.
So the thing is as well, it's almost like you're recycling. You know, like we're in 2024 and people like recycling, and that's what you're doing. Everything comes in, sort of has another life in whatever form it is.
And that is it. At the end of the day, they keep going and keep going. And you've got to remember, not everybody has got unlimited budget or even big budget. Some people just want to buy a car and just want to go racing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember selling Harley Holton a car,
Yeah.
and it was so cheap, but he's just so happy.
Yeah.
He's just happy going racing.
Yeah.
He hasn't got half the money tied up in that other people have. Even when Willie Scoyles came into it, I sold Willie Scoyles that first car. And I sold that to Willie Scoyles for £14,000.
Yeah.
Well, he's still using. Well, obviously, he's still been using that car. He's been winning races in it. You don't need to spend that sort of money. If you haven't got that money, you don't have to. And that's where a lot of my customers ring me, really.
Yeah. But the thing is, you've almost got a bit of a niche in that market then now, because you've over time you've built up this sort of catalogue of cars that people can almost choose.
Because at the end of the day, you can't build a car for that money.
Yeah.
But like we just talked about, I've got it because I've done a deal against a new one, so therefore it doesn't stand me at what you can't now build a new one for them sort of money. An engine's worth that brand new, but like I say, through recycling, like you say, that's what you can do.
And last one before we move inside, I'm guessing, is.
So that's obviously my hire car, but that was on sort of permanent hire to James Morris.
Yes.
Now, basically, I've had another driver come on board to do all the shale meetings.
Yeah.
So what I've decided to do is I'm going to let him use that all season, and I've built James Morris a new one.
Excellent.
James is at the level now where he gets the benefit out of a brand new car, and he gets he needs that quality of stuff. So what I decided to do was build him a new one. He would get the benefit of that, and then obviously a driver called Bradley Blythe is going to use this one.
So new to stock cars?
New to Formula Ones. I believe he's actually building a Formula One himself, but he's done a bit of Formula 2 and a bit of super stock racing. But yes, he's new to the Formula One, which is great for people coming in.
I mean, we were at Ashwellers yesterday, and he alluded to the fact that how supportive you've been of his coming into Formula One, with his team and Mat Newson racing the car. And I think clearly that it's great to help and support people coming in stock cars, because you need new people, don't you, for it to continue.
The sport needs to grow. There's always people retiring. So at the end of the day, you need new people coming on. And I like the fact that people always assume that the Formula One market is mini stock drivers that are coming up, which it is, sons of fathers that do it. But it's really nice to actually hear that, I would call it just people, from nowhere are just going, you know what, I want to have a Formula One. And I mean, look back when Nigel Hari started. He'd never done no other motorsports, but all of a sudden he wants a Formula One, and now he's there for 4 cars, and he's really into it. So, that is good for the sport, to be fair.
Cool, good. Right, let's go and have a look inside. So we've done outside for the time being. Going to go inside. What's that though? Before we get in, because it's impressive.
That is a typical Mat Newson unfinished project. So basically, it's going to be a temporary workshop that I take racing. I've got a bit of a situation on my hands this year, which is my lorry that I normally go racing in. The MOT's out, the tax is out. It isn't worth repairing. I've been getting to the stage as well where I've been going to Bradford with 2 big lorries. My fuel bill's been through the roof. So we've decided for the start of the season, we're going to just go racing in our crane lorry. But as you can imagine, I've got, yes, it takes 8 cars, but what I've got nowhere to work, nowhere to put my tools. So the idea is we've been building this in between where I'll put my tools in it. I've actually designed it as well, so a car will go in it. The roof comes down. The idea is if I put it on the lorry with the roof down, I could put another car on the roof of it. But at the moment, it's going to just be just basically going to be a workshop at meeting where all my stuff is. People don't understand that when I get that lorry, there's like 40 wheels in that lorry, and there's probably enough bits in there to build a stock car. And
but you need that though with the amount of cars you're taking. In fact, you've got people hiring and they want to race a meeting, so you can't go, I haven't got the bit for that.
And that's it. And that's why talking earlier about Mark Clayton having one of mine, it'll make life easier because if it fits my car, it'll fit his. And then if he hasn't got one, I've got one. When people have got such random different cars, I might not have a specific part, then they miss the rest of the meeting. Whereas really with my own, I like to think I've got everything that would be needed to do it.
Absolutely. That's good. Right, let's go in here and have a look. I like this one already. so let's go in here, let's have a look. So what have we got?
This is what we like to class as the fabrication side of the shop. Obviously this is where we build all the cars in. At the moment I've got Paul Harrison's car here, which is kind of
in half?
Yeah, it's half a car.
Yeah.
Paul rung me and said he'd had a bit of a crash at Skegness and it had bent the 2 chassis legs. Could I put 2 new ones in? And, you know, typical me.
Yeah.
It's only a few weeks before start of the season, but yeah, I'm doing that. I've got a brand new one behind it, which is Casey Ingleston's new tarmac car.
Yeah.
He was the last one that the other ones had to be done for the start of the year. Casey's already got a tarmac car,
Yes.
so he was like, it doesn't matter if it's not ready. So obviously that's where his is up to.
So like, look, right, so we've got kind of 2 cars like in here.
Yeah.
So how long would it take you now to get Paul's back? What's your kind of time scale?
To be fair, for an out of here, just a few weeks really. Now it's in and we're on with it. What I call big construction, which is 2 chassis rails in a space of a few days. You piece it all together, and it looks like a car again. Then what I try and do is I move it out of here. It's the putting them together that takes the time.
Yeah.
To be fair, that car of Casey's, that's only like a few weeks since we started it.
Okay.
You know, they come together very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But then once they've been painted, it takes me longer to brake pipe wire it, put the engine in as to what it does. And going back to what we said earlier, that's why I don't like repairing old cars now.
Yeah.
You spend longer cutting it, grinding it, doing it. You're just as quick, really, just to, you know, time I get the steel off the rack, onto the saw, cut it, you know, it isn't long.
So if you kind of like from day one, I'm building a new tarmac car, a new shell car. Have you got everything on site to do it end to end?
So I always build them in pairs.
Right.
The reason being is when I cut one, it's easier to cut 2.
Yeah.
But what I do is I put it on the jig. I build a flat chassis and an under tray. Then I'll build a flat chassis and under tray of the second one.
Yeah.
Then when I bend the roll cage, I'll bend 2 roll cages in one go. It just saves you so much time doing. But yes, I've got everything written, jigged, like laser cut.
Yeah.
Really and truthfully, you can.
So when you're building a car then, so like you're starting with 2 chassis rails on you, that's your, I guess that's where you start. Can you do it without looking at anything? Like, is it all from memory?
Funny thing is actually, me and Neil, who sort of do more of the construction, we know the answer to it, but we still check. So we'll go, right, the chassis should be X long, but then I'll just get the book out and I'll just check that's what it says. But it's funny, it always is what it is. And then when it comes to, you know, how far should the shocker point go, he'll shout to me, that's 30 inch, isn't it? And I'll just open the book and it says 30 inch. And, you know, my cars have evolved a lot through, I would like to say I've been lucky that I've had or worked on probably some of the best cars going. So, for example, if you took when I first started, there was probably the people that I class as top engine car builders. Peter Falding, Cecil Sayer, Frankie Wayman. I've had all of them cars here for people at some point. Yeah. So I've kind of, well, that's a good idea on a Peter Falding car, and that's a good idea on a Cecil car. And then over the lot of them, I've kind of tried to wrap them into one car as such.
Yeah. And so you are constantly evolving, because I guess you can't stand selling stock cars or any form of motorsport, and so is that kind of, you're looking at what people are doing and then sort of trying little bits out at a time? And
they're never all the same, as in like you said. The first thing we try and come up with is how we can make it easier to either make it work on it. And then we'll sort of get down now. You'll see people that are going well, and you'll see what they're doing. And it's like, right, well, we ought to have a go with that.
Yeah.
And one thing I can say is that the cars that are built here are all the same as mine. They all go well. Yeah. I like to think they're easy to work on. They're easy to repair. I'd like to think that they're the easiest cars to get back on track for the next race.
Yes, yeah. And I think from a stock car meeting perspective, you're going all that way. Yeah. You've got, you know, maximum of 4 races, maybe 2 or 3 depending on how you do. So you need that track time is so important for the investment in time you've put together.
Also, as well, for the how should I put it? For what I'm for, which is like season-long points, you need to be in every race. It's no good. It's no good going to 3 meetings, winning a heat, but never doing a final in national. As far as I'm concerned, you need to be scoring race after race after race, and that's what I try to achieve as best I can.
Fab. Good. So we've done axles, tyres, fabrication.
Yeah.
Then when we go next door, what's the next door bit?
I like to call that the assembly shop.
Okay, love it. Can we go there?
Yeah.
Perfect. So Matt, assembly shop.
Yeah.
Not as tidy as the fabrication shop.
This is the one that's the messiest, and to be fair, this is where I spend most of my time in. There is just stuff everywhere, isn't there?
Yeah.
But we try to put them together in here because I've got a couple of lifts in here.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more of my tools are in here, you know, so this time of the year though is where the trouble comes, because it's like boxes of new parts, all the bits that have been anodized, painted, and it's just, it just becomes a...
Yeah. So on the sort of the lift, the ramp over here, we've got brand new car.
Yeah, that's the one for the H104 that I took the purple car we looked at earlier in.
Yeah.
This is his brand new one. This is absolutely identical to the Nigel de Kock, the Mark Clayton. This is a typical Mat Newson, car nowadays.
So in terms of its journey to being complete, how far away are we from being...
To be fair, he's picking it up in 3 days. So to be fair, it's nearly finished, to be honest with you. We've sort of done everything. We're just now putting it on wheels, and it'll be set up and done. And then obviously he's going to come and collect it the weekend. So to be fair, it's just about finished now.
And in terms of the sign writing aspects of it, do they come and do that here?
So the customer probably has their own sign writer.
Yeah.
So they just organise it to come and be sign written here. Normally what I'll do is it'll be fabricated next door.
Yeah.
It'll go straight from the powder coaters from there.
Yeah.
Then it'll come back and I will then paint it in the colour.
Yeah.
Then it'll get sign written and lacquered before I actually start putting them together.
Yeah.
And then obviously when that's been done, I'll put them together, and by that time next door we'll have fabricated the axles, the arms, all the bits, so that way when it comes back from painting and such, it is just really a case of bolt them together.
Yeah.
I've got everything. And
so when you say we, so like you're here, your dad's here, and Neil's here. So is it just you three, or do you have other...
Yeah, I have a lot of people come and help me, but generally it is just us three.
Yeah.
Obviously there'll be a lot of times when I don't see my dad for 2 days. He'll be off doing something else. And again, Neil does actually have a heating company. He might get a phone call any minute, but he has to leave.
Yeah.
But that's fine. But it's us three as a whole.
Okay. And then behind us, another very new car.
Yeah, but that's not new though. That's just refurbed. But we'll call it new.
New.
That's making out like I've done a good job, Jonathan. If you thought it was new.
I think it looks new.
Yeah.
So what this is?
That's my shale car.
Yeah.
It had done 2 seasons. Obviously, it was purple and yellow.
Yeah.
Just like anything, it was looking tired. So I just made the decision. Really, we rebumpered and nerfed it. New panels. Anything that was bent, replaced.
Yeah.
And like I say, this is now basically nearly back together, ready for Kings Lynn.
But it does look new. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would say very similar to what.
Yeah, but I think, like we said, if it wasn't bent, I didn't bother replacing it. But if it was bent, I cut it out, put a new bit in, and a fresh coat of paint always makes it look new, doesn't it? But
a bit of a different colour scheme though this year you've gone for, because you're not normally a grey, you're not a reddy, yellowy.
It was. I'll be honest with you, because we've got so many here. That's how we name them. I will say to someone, go and take the wheels off the grey car, or go and tell us we have to keep changing just so I can, if you're not careful, no one knows there'll be the wrong things on the wrong car. So we like to try and mix it up a little bit, but yeah, you're right, probably grey is not my normal, but it was something actually, Chris Farnell picked it. He's obviously a big BMW man, and that is a BMW colour.
Yeah.
And he basically said, I've had this car come in this grey. It's actually gold in the light. It's a pearl colour. Yeah. And he said, you want to have that? It's really nice.
Yeah.
He wanted me to do it black and grey.
Yeah.
But I don't like black. Everybody has black now, and I think when they're dirty, they don't look the same as they do when they're clean. So I just said, oh no, not black. I'm going to go purple.
Yeah.
And that purple is actually the colour I did Chris Cowley's shale car in, so I'd had an idea what it was like.
Yes.
And that's
fab. It's absolutely fab. And comfortable, Kings Lynn ready for this one, which is a couple of weeks.
You might not think so, but it will be. I've got a couple of weeks now, and the main things are there. I've got a lot of bolting together to do, but it'll soon. They come together quite quick. If you've got all the bits there, you can put them together quite quickly, really.
And behind where we're looking, I mean, you know, we talk, you know, you kind of say your fabrication aspect, you know, putting together, and there is like, you do seem to have everything. And, and I suppose as a stock car driver, you know, you need that level of spares.
Because I'm here all the time, I know where it all is. To be fair, if I ask somebody else to go and get it, they wouldn't know, but it is a right mess, to be fair. But I know that if I want an M8 bolt, I go over there, the one that says M8, and it'll have one in it, you know.
But you know, you say it's untidy. Do you ever kind of get, right, we just need to sort it? But do you ever kind of want to
My dad is on all the time, like, oh, we just need to do that. And I'll be honest with you, he's dead right. If I had a clear up in here, I'd probably be able to get 5 or 6 in here.
Yeah.
But when do I get 10 minutes to have a clear up? I said to you earlier, the best thing that ever happened to us as a team was lockdown.
Yes.
We got so much. We built like 2 extra cars. We got cleared up. You know, we used to laugh at my dad because he'd be outside doing like cutting some trees down, like gardening. We don't get time to do that, but there was nothing else we could do.
Yeah.
So that's what we done. But when you look now, when did we stop racing? Middle of November. Time we did awards night. Basically, it was December. That's December, January, February. We're now going to start March. We race in 16 days. It isn't long enough, really.
I mean, you can see why some people don't start racing until sort of May, June time, because it gives that sort of length of time. Well, actually, I need that period of time to get out racing.
And the trouble is, for us, if we don't actually get the car complete now, it don't get done during the season. I don't get no time week to week. I mean, here at the yard at present is my new tarmac car is at the painters, hence it's not here. But I've been building that like 2 years because it was going to be done last year, but it didn't get done during the season. I never even laid a spanner on it. Then the start of the winter work started. I built these cars for the people. About 3 weeks ago, we got back to my tarmac car, and it's only just gone. So it's just how it is. There isn't enough. There isn't enough weeks off. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not playing on that. I have as many weeks off as I want. I don't have to go to King's Lynn if I don't want to, but I want to, and it's also my work. So at the end of the day, I'll be at King's Lynn. But I say having a few more weeks at home to clear this place would have probably been a better job.
Right, very much enjoyed it. And before we sit down and have a bit of a chat, there's one more car I want to look at, which is out there. Let's go have a look. Back outside, Matt. Just one more car in which is beautiful.
Yeah. So obviously, like we spoke about earlier, James Morris, I got somebody else who's going to use the car he's been using, so I made the decision to build another car. It belongs to me, but it'll be for James to use. It just seemed the most viable thing to do. I needed another car in the fleet. He's the best driver in the team, so therefore it made sense to give it to him.
So does that stand James for anything, or is it all yours?
No, they're the shocks, and there is some other items which belong. The seat belongs to James, but obviously the car and engine, everything is mine. It's my problem to the upkeep on it. James just obviously pays me to race it.
Have you ever kind of like stopped and thought how much money?
Yeah, it's frightening. You don't do that. Just move on, please.
But it is, you know what I mean? When you walk around and you go engine, you know, and like, which is obviously the biggest expense, and then you've kind of got shocks, tyres, and I guess it is quite scary to think about how much money you've got.
I actually sometimes think that when I sit on track sometimes, and I look around, I think, oh, there's 6 of my cars on track, which is great. I think, Jesus Christ, it could go wrong so quick. But that's what we do it for, and you know, I've got a lot of money tied up in it, but people have got money tied up in their jobs, and people have got money tied up in houses and stuff. It's just what I do.
So you know the engine part. So obviously we're seeing all your different aspects of, you know, we walked around and gone, right, this is how you build a stock car. The missing bit is the engine part.
So basically the engine job is, engines just are too complicated and they're too precise to be somewhere like here. My dad's got a workshop at his house. The engines all get built there, and then I bring them from the house to here. This is not the environment you'd want to be taking an engine out. So therefore, like I say, I take the engine out of a car, I take it to my dad. Luckily, we're only talking, it's 5 minutes up the road. We take the engine there. My dad will strip it, repair it. He's got a workshop there as well, where he's got mill lathes, so he makes intricate parts, and you know, and he comes back the next day with them. But that sort of thing, you know, say you wouldn't want to strip an engine here. It'd have dirt and grime. It's not the place for that.
No, not being disrespectful, but absolutely, it's a proper stock car yard. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not, you know, but I guess with an engine, it is a little bit of metal inside.
Yeah, you can't have that. You can't have that. Like I said, the biggest value of the car is the engine, and they're the thing you need to look after. And yeah, you can stand here and you can grind metal and you can do all that, and it makes no difference. But not with things like that. That's why we don't do it here.
So I think what we've absolutely learned today is end to end, you can do a stock car. Do you know what I mean? You know, like, self-contained, don't need anybody else, and you can just do it all from.
And I pride myself on that a bit. And I mean, I'm not saying it's not the right way to go, but there's a modern day stock car. A lot of people just buy them. They just buy this part, they buy that part, they buy that part. But that doesn't happen here. It's made. Do you know what I mean? I know that takes longer. It takes time, but I like that because it's my interpretation on how a car should be. You know, someone else has got a completely different opinion. But this, you know, there's too much nowadays that people buy off the shelf, and I don't like that. I remember when I started, it was all about 60 drivers with 60 different cars, and to be fair, with 60 different ideas, and they were all trying to make their idea work. And to me, that's what it's about.
That's stock car racing.
Yeah.
No, it's a good ethos to have. I like it. Right, let's go and get out of the rain. I want to ask you a few more questions.
No worries.